Patrick, insurance agent in Fort Myers, Florida. Tell us your story.
So I was at FFL. I was there for about a year. I did very well because eventually I had acquired a separate lead order away from FFL CRM leads. I noticed, and the agents that I had hired under me noticed right away, they started out really good. Like the first month we had made some good money with FFL's leads, and then they just got terrible. Like all of us had that same pattern. We all started off really strong in our first 30 days, and after that, we were all just losing money buying leads with them. So eventually it came time to where I couldn't even do it anymore. So I finally, after about 9 months, 10 months of being there, I got a standing lead order with a separate lead vendor aside from FFL, aside from anyone involved with that, called LeadCo. And I had brand new leads that were actually exclusive to me. I had the counties locked out. I had 6 counties in Southwest Florida. Around that time, about a month after that, was when I decided to switch companies and get away from FFL because there was just too much things going on. And basically, I left FFL. I signed my release. I signed the release that any FFL agent has to sign when they leave FFL, if they're even granted that.
Patrick, let me jump in. I do recall from the class action lawsuit from Greg Birch, which you could see online. In fact, I'll have a link to it below, that when you were enticed to join Family First Life, they tell you you could come and go as you please. There's no contract. It's a great situation. In fact, I spoke to a Family First Life recruiter, which I should call Brittany the Fraudster, which you could see a link to the video above. And she says the same thing. You could come and go as you please. We want you to succeed. Build a business and you could leave. Apparently, you were told that as well. Why were you required to sign a contract if that was the case? What
they don't tell you is you can leave anytime, but there will be consequences that are not favorable if you do decide to leave. You have one of two options. You either sign your release and you sign all that business that you basically acquired over the months you were there, and you leave it open and you leave it at FFL, and all of your agents are stuck there unless they do the same thing. Or you go the option of canceling all of your contracts that you have with all these insurance carriers, which are a lot. You now cannot recontract with any other company with those same carriers for another 6 months. So you're either blacklisted and can't sell anything for 6 months, or leave all of your business. What it seems like, I can't confirm this 100%, but what it seems like is they say you don't sign a contract when you get here, but what that does is what it seems like it leaves you vulnerable to nothing protecting you, no contract protecting you, or just no terms that you've agreed on of what's going to happen when you do leave. So you don't sign a contract when you get there, but also that contract, if it was set up properly, could have protected you and could have saved your business.
Patrick, what they're not telling you is there's an internal contract between yourself, the insurance company, and Family First Life, which is handcuffing you. In essence, when they say there's no contracts, you could come and go as you please, when you walked in, they're lying to you. The way the American system works, the American system of justice works, if the government knew that you got defrauded, they could act. I'm highly recommending anyone who gets defrauded in any aspect of life, especially in this Family First Life situation, to complain to the proper authorities, which happens to be the state attorney general and the Department of Insurance. But that's besides the point. In essence, you should not have signed the contract. We do have a justice system which is designed to protect you. Let's continue with what you have to tell us.
I guess extend on your point. It's very clear the way they market no contract is very misleading. And it's not, at least for myself and the agents that I hired, what actually happened wasn't the message that they were sending to me. It was very different, and I imagined it based off of the verbiage they used when they were making the marketing videos.
They were just plain lying to you. Build a business and take it with you. Complete falsehood. There's a gentleman in Texas, Mr. Meaike, an immigrant from Cameroon. You could see the link above. He recruited 48 insurance agents. On a whim, or for whatever reason, Shawn Meaike and Family First Life decided to just grab his agents. Right. As long as you don't complain, as long as you don't lawsuit or attorney general, the court system, they could do whatever they want. Family First Life, I know specifically, is attracting or recruiting. I don't want to insult you. You seem like a pretty hefty guy, but they are targeting the lower echelons of society, people that are less likely to complain to the proper authorities, which in this case is the state attorney general, the Department of Insurance, and of course the state court system. Once these lawsuits start flying, it stops. But until that happens, it just continues.
To add to that, in regards to the insurance business, that was me. I barely even knew what life insurance was when I started. I did have great success when I started. Exactly what you said. I don't even know where to go, or I didn't know where to go because I'm brand new. And FFL typically markets to younger, kind of more fast-paced people that happen to be like myself and just inexperienced.
Don't know what they're doing. There's an expression. Experience is the comb you have when you don't have any more hair anymore. Maybe I'll get that expression right one day. But I did see it on a wall somewhere.
They do market towards people like myself who are inexperienced, who aren't going to know how to handle it. And that was me at the time. People like myself who are now have had that happen to them. I'm competent enough to see that something is not right here. Something's going on and I need to speak up about it. But there was nothing that could have prevented this from happening in the beginning.
Let me give you some good news. I did speak to a gentleman named Agent Kevin from California. He complained to his attorney general. He got a referral to sue, which should become public in the next, I would say, 2 weeks. They stole his downline. He did the proper thing, which was to complain to the attorney general. I've been speaking to him for months. He's expecting to get $800,000. You've got some massive damages for fraud. You've got triple damages, time and effort. California has a law about wage theft against independent contractors, similar to if someone works at 7-Eleven for a month. At the end of the month, the boss says to you, you're really not in our plans for future employment, so I don't feel we should pay you for your previous working here. That's completely illegal. That is jail time. In many states, that will be jail time as well if you do that to an independent contractor. When they tell you that recruit, build a team, it's yours, you could take it with you, and that's completely bogus. That is wage theft. That is major fraud against independent contractors. I do know specifically in the state of Florida, that will be jail time. As long as you don't complain, no one's going to jail.
Well, that's been the journey for me recently, is trying to discover the process and learn the process. And I'm glad I've gotten linked up with the right people in the past couple of weeks, but discover the process on how to send the proper people to jail and go about the proper step-by-step process and who to talk to and who to complain to and stuff like that. That's where I'm at in the process, is learning this, because you spent 6 years of my life and 3 tours overseas as a Marine Special Operator. I became that because I have a strong drive for justice and against people who are doing innocent people wrong. It seems like that's exactly what's going on here. And it seems like that's the situation for me. So again, I emphasize there are many other people like myself who are young. I'm still a young guy in this industry. Our babies, our children, they have no idea what they're doing when they first get in it, and they get thrown into as an infant, you get thrown into a pit of what seems to be snake-like people with just not great agendas and not caring about you.
I've come to learn their agenda. If you look at the interview that was uploaded last week, Jamel of Jacksonville, he calls my office and tells me that he got a hold of bounty leads. He was a top-level agent that was recruited from another IMO. A competent guy, good at this business. They wanted to keep him happy. They gave him a huge list of people who recently bought Americo.
Yes.
And that was called Bounty Lead. He replaced 15 of those policies. He tells me, which I did not know, I thought I knew everything about this company. These were policies that were sold just recently, which means the agents were still part of the company.
Right.
Major fraud. That's why I'm expecting Shawn Meaike to end up in jail in the not too distant future, because that's churning. If one of those clients is over 65 years old, that would be elder abuse. You Google the word, which I've done, California, elder abuse, that's 4 years in jail. I believe Florida is more strict than California in that regard. Patrick, tell us about what you know about bounty leads.
Yeah, so when I left FFL, it was about 1.5 years ago, but I just recently, again, had another experience with bounty leads. So let me backtrack. I'll stay on the topic of bounty leads, but I got to backtrack a little bit. When I first left, basically, I had my standing lead order with LeadCo. I was making a fortune off those because LeadCo is a reputable company, lead vendor. They were solid leads. They were exclusive to me. I had counties locked out, like I had said, and I was making a lot of money, between $20,000 and $50,000 a month off those leads, because FFL knows they don't have very good leads and they need someone, they need lead access to give to their top producers. When I left FFL, I was basically threatened to have my license pulled if I didn't give up my standing lead order to my former upline from FFL. Threatened on the grounds of I'm a very powerful person, and I know people, and I could basically, it was essentially extortion or blackmail is what it seemed like at the time. So I was forced to give up against my will, and I have documentation of me trying to fight that, but again, still not knowing better and not being scared to lose my license and stuff like that. I eventually ended up giving up those standing lead orders, which made my business fall apart because that was my lifeblood. Fast forward, that was a year and a half ago. My business has struggled ever since then, just because I haven't been able to find another reputable lead source. About 2 weeks ago or a week ago, that same upline who was complicit and compliant with trying to get me to give up that lead order, he was the one who wanted them, and the CEO actually helped him get those because he wants those leads in his company. Total Snake was a friend of mine also, and then I all of a sudden leave, and now I'm the bad guy, or I'm treated like that. It's insane. But that same upline is now just recently calling my warm market clients that I've sold Americo policies to a year ago. These are people that have never filled out any lead information. They've never filled out a lead form. These are warm market. These are referrals. These are friends. These are family. And they're calling these Americo clients trying to replace their business, saying, hey, I'm calling about that policy that you have with Americo that you pay $170 a month for. And they say the keywords with our office. So again, that's very misleading on the phone, saying with our office. I have the voicemails because they're, friends of mine. I'm calling about that policy you have with our office and, trying to get an appointment with them so they can replace it, knowing it's an Americo policy. Unfortunately, the ones that, maybe they're getting smarter after these things started coming out with bounty leads, because these are younger clients for the most part in their 30s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. So maybe they're, not trying to get away with the elderly abuse. But yeah, they're calling my warm market leads a year and a half after I've left that company trying to replace it. It just so happens to be that same upline that tried to take all of my leads. What it seems like is because I didn't fight back the first time, well, now they know I'm a target. Now they know, hey, well, we can go after his business because he's not going to do anything, like you said. Because I didn't do anything the first time, and I didn't do the proper things, and I trusted the wrong people and didn't do anything about it. Bounty leads are absolutely a thing, and my upline is one of those guys who's a top producer. He has a history, a documented history in the insurance field of doing shady things. To me, means that he's one of those guys that isn't going to tell on them for these bounty leads and isn't going to, do anything about it.
Okay, Patrick, let me jump in. Okay, number one, if you listen to my interview with Brittany the fraudster, Brittany the recruiter, I'm sure they said similar to you. You build a business, you come and go as you please. We're here to help you. They also tell from numerous, what people have told me, they tell the new agents who don't know anything that Americo is the best deal. I know unequivocally that a 35-year-old healthy male, $250,000 20-year term, $86 with Americo. Similar policy with AIG or Haven would be $21 a month if they get the best price.
It's very clear when you're an FFL agent that there is an agenda to push Americo. That's what I will put it that, with no evidence to support that.
I have to believe, Patrick, that one of the reasons, or I should say the main reason they're pushing Americo so much, is it's so easy to replace that later, considering that a $86 a month policy could be down to $21 a month. In essence, what your upline did, he waited the 1 year so he could get the full 1 year override commission for himself and Family First Life and Integrity Marketing Group, which is part of this scam. He was kind enough to wait for that 1 year. Then he tells the truth to your clients. And the fact is, if your clients, if they agree to buy this new and improved policy, they're actually better off, because Americo really is designed for people that have a lot of medical problems, which your friends were not the case. So they really could get double the coverage for the same price, which is good for them. It's not a hard sale.
And keep in mind, when I originally wrote those policies, my upline was the one who was recommending which policies to write to them. He was the one who told me to write those policies.
What is your upline's name?
His name is Spencer Faggioni.
We'll just call him Spencer the fraudster.
Spencer the fraudster. He was one of the top, I think he was the number one annuity salesman at FFL like 3 years in a row or 2 years in a row or something like that. He was one of the top guys.
So this guy really took you for a ride. He's recommending that you sell Americo, knowing that you know nothing about this business. You sell it He waits a year, then he replaces it to something else.
Yes, and actually, now that you're thinking about it, it was almost exactly a year. It wasn't a year.
Like, he's waiting the 1 year so he could get the full first year commission. That's churning.
It's very clear what's going on.
I know in the U.S. military, they do have the chapel before a big battle. They go out to pray.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what we want to do is pray that one of those people that he succeeds in churning, because I'm sure if you actually succeed, the penalties are higher.
Right. That
it's a person who's 65 years old or older, because that would be multiple years in jail for Spencer the fraudster.
I actually didn't know that, but I'm happy to hear that. And the most anyone can do is just kind of sit and wait for it to happen and document it if it does happen. But it's definitely happening, and it's definitely a coup. It's very cultish, and it seems like myself and multiple other agents that I don't even know have said this. It seems like all of the top agents in the hierarchy in that company is all in on something that no one else knows.
Speaking about leads, there's a company which is listed on my lead page. I mentioned a company called Need a Lead, and they specialize in mailers for final expense. I remember having a conversation with them a few years ago. They were charging $22 for a fixed price lead for $22. And lo and behold, one of the people I spoke to said, hey, they called up Need a Lead, the price is more. Now it's $45. Leads are becoming increasingly hard to get. If you've got a good lead source, and if it's through a third party, you should realize it's not your lead source. One of the things one must do if they're interested in staying in this business is become an expert on leads and controlling your leads. You mentioned you're all up in a tizzy about what happened with LeadCo, but in essence, you should be figuring out what LeadCo is doing and replicating that.
I am. That's the thing, though. It takes time to do those things. It takes time to learn that process. It takes time to perfect it. So in the meantime, it just makes it extremely difficult when you have the CEO of a company that thinks he owns that company because he knows how good it is and he only wants it for his agents. He's willing to do anything to take it.
All he did was he made some empty threats to you and you agreed, and he was laughing at you afterwards. That's all that happened. But the fact is, if you look at the $552,000 lawsuit that Mark Dombrowski of Michigan filed against Family First Life and 9 insurance agents for violating the do not call list, you realize that these people are doing major illegalities to obtain leads. And the reason that they're willing to take this risk is because real leads don't exist in such a manner for tens of thousands of insurance agents. They just don't exist. They hardly exist for one person. You cannot supply exclusive leads to 10,000 insurance agents on a regular basis. It's impossible.
And if they're $100 a lead, roughly.
Even at $100 a lead, to wake up in the morning and say, I need exclusive leads for 10,000 insurance agents, it's a bit weird. It's not like possible. And Brittany the fraudster, who I spoke to the recruiter, says we have an abundance of exclusive leads that never end. And that is the reason why I call her Brittany the fraudster. You could only say that to a new insurance agent that doesn't know any better. And that's specifically why they're always recruiting children, people 18, 19, 20 years old. Is there anything else you want to tell us, Patrick? You were about to tell us about bounty leads. What do you know about bounty leads?
Yeah, so again, bounty leads they're basically selling off, whether the agent has left or is still there, it seems like they're selling off their old book of business to current FFL agents it seems to be only the top dogs that won't say anything, that are keeping their mouth shut, selling them off to them to go back. And I can't say for sure that the purpose of it is to replace the business. I can only take my opinion based off of what I've seen to, replace their business is what it seems like.
It's to replace the business.
They're hiding under the guise of, and some of it, if they were actually doing it for this purpose, it would almost make sense. But they're hiding under the guise of, we want this person who their agent that got them their policy is no longer in this business. We want them to have a go-to for their policies. Except the problem is you have corrupt people using that system. That's just, it seems like it's just a hiding. That's their cover up for what they're actually trying to do. Because when you put it into reality, they're not doing that. What's happening is so many agents are getting all their policies replaced. I'm still in the business. It happened to me. I'm still in the business, and you have this agent who just so happens to be my former snake upline is calling my old clients who could call me up any day of the week, and I'm still around to handle them, and trying to talk about that Americo policy that you have with our office, even though I'm the writing agent. That doesn't tell me that you're just trying to make sure your clients have someone to go to when that agent knows I'm still in the business.
Let me ask you, has that snake upline succeeded in replacing any of the policies yet?
Several policies, and it mostly with Americo, and also with all of my old downlines. They had, now that I'm gone, they had no protection. The amount of replacement policies I had with Americo is substantial. It's a night and day difference. I have almost a perfect persistency rate with all of my policies that I write, because I would rather write quality policies that I know are going to stick, that I know are going to help, than just try to get numbers and numbers. And still, even with that, my Americo policies are almost 50% loss. It just so happened to be all of that happening in all of my old downlines. That all happened right after I left. I was getting all these chargebacks with Americo. And then I found out about bounty leads and stuff. And then I would sit there and question. I'm like, why are all these people canceling? And then on top of canceling, they would block my number. And it's like, which I could understand. But like, these were ladies I became friends with and normal people. So someone must have been coming in.
I have to tell you, Patrick, if you look at the difference in price between, let's say, Americo, AIG, Mutual of Omaha, it's night and day. There's probably a feeling of these customers that you rip them off, selling such an overpriced policy.
I would almost agree. But
the fact is, when you're new in a business, you really don't know what you're doing. Right. The guy a year and a half later knows what he's doing, and he's able to replace your policy that you sold.
Well, right. When you're a new agent and you're in homes and you're brand new, your upline is the one who's recommending which product you write based off of their situation. So he was the one telling me, hey, write these products. And then magically a year later, now that I know what I'm doing, and actually the people that he's been calling lately, I actually went and replaced their products, because now I had seen, wow, there's way better companies.
Since you know that they're using new agents as fronters, specifically on Americo policies, it's probably not a bad idea to really be on top of it, realizing that this will happen. You at least have an excuse as a new agent. When you sell Americo initially and you replace that with your client 1 or 2 or 3 years later, at least you have an excuse that you were told and you believed that Americo was a good deal in 2019. But the manager and the CEO, they don't have that excuse vis-a-vis the word churning and elder abuse. If I was sitting on a judge or a jury and I saw a 19-year-old kid who came into Family First Life and sold Americo, a year later he says to this guy, hey, we should have got you with AIG or Mutual of Omaha, I would not put that 19-year-old kid in jail. Right. But I would put the manager, the upline, and the CEO in jail, and I would put the insurance company Americo in jail, because they're agreeing to this. The normal situation in the insurance industry, when a particular agent gets too high a percentage of replacements, the insurance company looks into it, and eventually every company in the industry besides Americo, they will cancel the contract for the insurance agent. Besides Americo. Apparently Americo does not care. They've got some sort of gentleman's agreement with Family First Life that they're allowing them to replace policies.
That what you just said is very apparent. It's not openly stated, but it's very apparent that there is something going on with that company and the CEO of FFL. It's very, very clear. And it doesn't seem normal. And again, one of the main pieces of evidence is how hard they push it with no evidence of why they would be doing that.
And now what they're doing is they're pushing hard to replace it at a later date. That's major, major churning. And eventually there's going to be a case of, especially in the state of Florida, where you've got 25% of the population is over 65. That's jail time.
What makes me so upset about it is, I work so hard to take care of the client, and life insurance and retirement planning can be life-changing for people. And that's actually why I work in the field. I had my mom pass away without any life insurance, and I can see what can happen to a family without, having that help. To sit there and pretend to be that, virtuous of trying to help these people, but in reality, you're really just literally purposely manipulating them. It's no surprise with the CEO. He's just that type of person. And he has, if you look into anything with his background and know anything about psychology, then you see why it's happening. But it's just so frustrating to see that these people are getting manipulated. Even the new agents are getting manipulated like that.
The new agents, in essence, are fronters for the managers. Their job is to empty out their bank account for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 of leads. Maybe they'll make sales, maybe they won't. But in the end, if they do make sales, they'll get replaced. If they don't make sales, they move on. But that's what it really is, the fronter. So when they've got multiple people, multiple recruiters saying, hey, we're going to teach you how to make $250,000, that's just outright fraud from the get-go.
Right. And let me bring up one more thing about the leads. I have personally been told by an employee at LeadCo who's been there for a very long time. She's been in the leads business for a very long time, knows the CEO of that company very well. These CRM leads that FFL is selling, and exclusive leads and the way they market them like that, these are leads that they're LeadCo leads. So these piece of mail that a LeadCo recipient pays premium money for, and they're actually really good leads. FFL then has one of their people in their company, which I'm not going to name names, but goes and buys them and buys all those up in bulk. And then he personally sells them through the FFL CRM up to 50 times a piece. So they're marketing these exclusive leads that each lead can be sold up to 50 times. Those are FFL's leads. That's their exclusive leads that they talk about. They're a lead that one agent already had, who's probably a solid agent because he's got the money to afford premium price leads. And then now that guy in that company goes and buys him himself because he has access to the CRM, backdoor access, and he goes and sells them himself, and they're the ones profiting off of it. And they're profiting off of, like you said, all these new agents, these innocent people. It's absurd. If you buy 100, 200 of them, you might get 1 or 2 sales. Even if you made 7 sales off them, it's not what it's being marketed as.
It's actually worse than what you're saying. If you're a new agent and you're selling a vastly overpriced product from the get-go on a lead that you believe is exclusive, but it's really shared with 50 other people, you know one of those 50 other people is going to replace it to a competitive policy.
Right.
So you end up losing everything. You don't make one sale.
In the long run, yeah, you lose more than what you paid, you know.
Like the best thing that a new agent can do when they come into the Family First Life system is to make no sales. If he makes no sales, he's done well.
Right.
Because it's the agents that have make 1, 2 sales from the get-go. Those are the ones who pour more money into the leads, more time and effort, and they end up getting ripped off majorly.
With FFL alone, even if you came into FFL, it has a good system. But even if you used your own leads in your warm market and you magically created your own business, you still have to report all that business through FFL, and they're still going to have access. So even if you never bought leads from them, they're still going to go replace them. So you can't escape it. It's like, it's a big shame because if without all this corruption, without all of that, it would be a great structure, but it's not operated properly.
Patrick from Fort Myers. Believe it or not, I created a playlist of 44 videos, which is the fraud. What you're adding to this is nice. It makes it a little bit more clear, but there's nothing new under the sun. The playlist that's currently linked below is the whole case. You could take this to any attorney. The laws are on the books that you can't do this type of stuff. You cannot make promises to people and just laugh at them and grab all their money, whether it be walking to their house with a gun or using the YouTube and Facebook and
or threatening to take away everything I have.
The threatening I'm a little bit wary of, like, because it seems a little bit illogical.
The reason I left FFL is because I had basically bitched a client out on the phone. She was just being a bitch. I was having a bad day and I was like, fuck you. And I hung up the phone. She went to Shawn Meaike. So when Shawn Meaike called me, he was like, did you do this? And he was like, okay, that's why he released me. That's why he let me sign the release, because I bitched the client out and she threatened to go to the Department of Insurance.
As long as you're not doing fraud, and they don't really care.
I didn't know that. So he took advantage of that and he said, hey, to protect your license, we're going to move you over here. Meanwhile, what was really happening was I had built a big business and I was a top producer. He wanted to take all that.
Did they grab your downline?
They grabbed all of them. I had 15 downlines. They took all of them.
They want to sell leads to these people. That's really what they want, and use them as fronters for the top level manager.
Which all my downlines were that. They were newer people. They didn't have much experience. And they removed me, put me under my upline, who is friends with Shawn Meaike, and took me out of the equation. So now you don't have this problem in the equation.
And you agreed to that?
I agreed to it because of my upline at Equus is John Kite, and he's an integrity partner, and I just trust him. He just said, hey, I've seen Shawn Meaike ruin the lives of hundreds of people. I couldn't afford, and I still can't afford to lose my license right now or have any problems being able to make money. Even if I shouldn't be at Equus, I still need to pay my bills this month.
So you actually believe just cussing out a customer, that's ground for something with the Department of Insurance? Wow,
I did because I've heard, other than outside of them, that with the laws on the phone and being on the phone and harassment and stuff are very tight. So I just didn't know.
I'll tell you now that it wasn't. She would have to file a complaint with the Department of Insurance. The Department of Insurance would write you a letter. They may call you up and you say, this happened, this happened, this happened. They say, have a nice day. That's really what would have happened.
What was threatened to me is they could pull your license. So to protect you, we're going to move you over to Equus, make it look like you got fired. And then when he did that, that's when all of the corruption followed. And he took my business, he took my leads, and he threatened me with my license more to get me to release my leads. Because Cheryl at LeadCo would not give my leads to them unless I authorized it. So they tricked me into authorizing.
So you voluntarily gave up those 15 recruits?
Voluntarily with a gun to my head, basically, because not having my license was a gun to my head. That's my only source of income. So I had no choice. And I actually have a text message from him when I left. After I left, I sent him a big text. I said, Shawn, there's no clarity. You told me you're going to release all my agents, but now you're saying you're going to release some. Which agents are you releasing? Here's a list of them. He never replied. He knows what he's doing, so he never replied.
He promised to release the agents to you at Equus?
He said all my business could come with me. That was what I agreed on. And they said, we'll handle you first.
I hate to mention it. Just on the stuff about your upline replacing your policies a year afterwards, after recommending a new insurance agent to sell Americo, that's enough. Everything else you're mentioning is just icing on the cake. When it ever ends up in court, this could be used as character witnesses and all this other crap. The triple damages, wage theft. That's going to be the main thing. Bringing a new person and a green person saying, recommending sell XYZ insurance company, just as a joke, because they know it's much easier to resell these policies a year later, which is exactly what happened.
So do you think that I would have a case here if I were to do something about this?
You have a huge case. This is what happened. This is the timeline. You were promised a ton of money when you came in. Mm-hmm. I assume because everyone was promised a ton of money.
Right.
You come in, you build a business, you build a team, you could come and go as you please. Fast forward. Let me ask you, you were promised beautiful exclusive leads when you came in. How much money did you get stolen from you on the phony leads they sold you when you first came in the business?
If I had to number it, I would say at least $5,000 a month for at least 10 to 12 months. So do the math there. That's between $50,000 and $70,000 that I've wasted spending on these leads with the promise. And his wording is very particular. His wording wasn't, oh, you'll make this much. His wording was, if you're not making at least $20,000 a month, then you should probably just quit because you're not good enough. So that wording now says I should be making at least 20 grand a month. If I'm working hard, then I should be making at least 20 grand a month. So he's promising lots of money to be made from these leads, tricking you into buying them, wasting all of your money, when really the guys who are making that type of money are the ones who are using other lead sources, and they know that.
When did you figure out that these were fake, phony leads? Let me re-ask the question. Why did it take you so long to figure out that these were fake and phony leads that weren't worth the money?
It didn't take me very long. It took me maybe, I have the text messages to prove it with my upline. Took me maybe 2 weeks to be like, hey, this isn't right, which following that was just more gaslighting into trying to trick me into buying more. And hey, no, they might have filled out multiple forms. It's no big deal. It happens. Trying to normalize it so I'd come down from that point. I realized immediately. At the end of the day, I still had faith in it. I had a really good first month. I made over $20,000 in my first month. So that kind of further allowed me to be gaslit into buying more because I had personal experience with it. And then that was maybe the first 3 months. Once I started seeing that I wasn't making that money anymore when I was doing the same things, I just went somewhere else. So I was now getting leads from other places. I wouldn't even buy them. So I realized immediately.
You only got ripped off $5, $10, or $15,000 from their fake leads?
No, because I was still supplementing with them.
Right, until you learn, but they definitely got you in initially. How did you make so much money if they were such bad leads?
I mean, I just worked them hard, and what it seems like, looking back on it now, it seems like I just got the luck of the draw. Where, keep in mind, a lot of the people who are buying these leads are brand new agents who don't really know how to follow up. They don't really know how to close. They don't really know how to do a lot of things, which I was very good at because I had previous sales experience. And I think I just happened to get a lot of leads that just weren't worked properly. Because some of those leads, you can make money off of them. You'll get lucky, 1 in 100, you'll make it, X amount of dollars. And if you're doing your job, it can be a big policy. And if you, get the right person, it can be a big policy.
You must have been really good at sales. You tried to.
I have experience in sales. I'm not going to sit here and brag about my skill, but I'm good at what I do. I put a lot of hard work before I even started in insurance to learn the products and to learn what I was marketing and stuff like that. So right out the bat, I was good because I did a lot of be prepared for that. But like myself and every other agent that and I'm talking 10, 15 agents that I hired that were having the same issue. Your first month or two would be really good with them, and then they would remain doing the same thing, and all of a sudden these leads are starting to fall off. It's almost like they were funneling good leads or inputting better leads in the first couple months that this brand new agent's buying them, and then they fall off, and then forever it never goes back. That's all speculation, but that's what it seems like. I had a good first month because I put in a lot of hard work and I got lucky with the right clients, and then the next batch of leads I would call, and every single one of them would tell me I've already had 50 other people call me or 10 other people call me, stop calling me. And that just so happened to be every lead that I bought, and then it just never changed from there.
During this time, were they telling you that these were exclusive leads?
Yes.
Similar to what Brittany the fraudster told me. They said, we got a limited number of exclusive leads. There's no limit. In
all their videos, in all their team meetings, in everything that they talk about leads. We've got great leads, and that we got one of the best lead systems in the industry. Come to find out, when I left there, they don't even have a real lead system. It's just some agent of theirs that's a big guy going and buying a bunch of reused leads and selling them a bunch of times. Again, going back to why my lead order was threatened and why they wanted it from me, they don't have a lead system, so they wanted the good leads that I had when I left that company.
I have to tell you, they do have a lead system. It's called Bounty Leads. It's hiring new agents based on promises, getting these people to make some sales, then the managers reselling these people to better quality insurance companies.
Well, I'll ask you this, David. How many of their videos explain that? Because that's the truth. Everything that you just said is what's true. How many of their videos explain that that's what their lead system is? Not one.
If people knew that was the lead system, no one would volunteer 6 months of their life and their life savings to have Shawn Meaike buy another private plane.
Right.
That would be really weird.
Right.
Gee, let's get some rich guy from Connecticut more money as if he needs it. What we have to do, Patrick, we have to encourage people who have gotten defrauded. You've got incredibly clear evidence of churning. The other issues that you've mentioned about the blackmail and the scare, that's a little bit unclear. But of course, when you're
I have evidence and witnesses.
You may have evidence to that, but it's not as convincing to me because it's not as cut and dry. It could be argued that you should have known that he was just bluffing, that there was really nothing to it. But I do know, when you bring in a younger person who has no idea what they're doing in the insurance industry, you tell them that XYZ insurance company is the go-to, then a year later replace that policy when the guy leaves. This is happening in a systemic manner. Anything that is systemic in fraud from a major corporation, that's really the purview of the state attorney general. You don't hire a lawyer tomorrow. You write your story, which will include your issue about the threatening and the blackmail. But what will be super interesting to the attorney general and to the Department of Insurance, because it's easy for them to understand, is that specific bullet point. If you could get them a name of a client, one of your friends name, address, phone number. He bought Americo from me. He got switched to, let's say, Mutual of Omaha or AIG a year later. That's blatantly illegal. That's not hard for the Attorney General or the Department of Insurance to figure out. Get that information to them. The accusations, I should say the crimes, which are as clear as day, they involve emotional damages. They involve wasting time and effort, premeditated and systemic fraud. The list of 44 videos that are on my playlist, you watch those videos from top to bottom, you write a killer letter, email to the Attorney General, you CC that to the Department of Insurance, your state senator, your state representative, the Federal Trade Commission fraud hotline. Same email, you send it to them all. I suppose the reason you send that to your state representative, state senator, these guys get elected, promising to fight for their constituents, for their voters. This is something that is plaguing younger people, are being hammered. You look like a pretty white guy to me, but I do know specifically that they are targeting younger black females in particular. I'm not sure if your state representative, that's a big issue for your state representative and state senator. But if I was a black state representative in, parts of Fort Lauderdale where I know this is happening to dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of people, I would be a little bit pissed off, and I would be walking into the office of the Attorney General and saying, I need something done right now.
And that's just disgusting to try to jump off the back of a group of people, or that are easily marketable or easily very sensitive topic, and just try to gain off of and exploit. That's what they do. They exploit everyone they can.
They did it to you. They got away with it until now. Hopefully you write some sort of killer letter to these governmental authorities. You follow it up with phone calls to the people to get them to act. You always have the option to file a lawsuit in your local state courthouse, which the opposition party will show up with attorneys that are earning $1,200 per hour. They will end up spending multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend against you. Any attorney that sees the evidence that is currently on my playlist will gladly take the case. This will not be a hard decision for any local attorney, but I'm somewhat of a cheapskate. I'm a cheap guy. I don't like to spend money. I really would not want to give 1/3 of the money to an attorney when I know I could do it myself, knowing that the opposition is going to be spending multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend themselves, because these type of MLM cult situations, they're completely dependent on getting new people coming in on a constant basis, especially considering there's not a lot of good lead sources out there. If you look at the lawsuit violating the do not call list, that Family First Life and 9 insurance agents are being sued for $552,000. You realize one of the lines in there where Americans are being bombarded by 50 billion robocalls per year. A person between 60 and 70 years old has to be getting 50 phone calls a day. There's not a lot of leads out there. They have specifically gone to the system of recruiting new agents and replacing these people's policies. Kimberly of Oklahoma sold 100 policies, 85 got replaced. Gentleman last week called me, Ulia of Agawam, Massachusetts, sold 30. He says he got 30 replaced. I'm not sure. I don't believe him 100% because maybe one stuck around, but he told me 30 sold, 30 got replaced. These are numbers that can only happen if someone's going through your entire list of sold policies.
Right.
They're doing this on a systemic basis that they have not done in the past.
Well, listen to this. Like I said, with my situation, he's calling my warm market clients. How else is he getting in touch with these people unless he's going through a list of my clients?
Were these people on your CRM?
Yes.
Okay, but he would also have the list of people even if they weren't on the CRM.
Well, I mean, they're in my CRM because you report your sales of who they are. They were friends of mine. They were referrals and friends and people that were never on a lead form. And when I sell them a policy and I have to report that sale, now they're in the CRM, but I never bought their name and information. These are people that I knew personally that needed insurance, and I went to them directly or they came to me directly. So how is an agent a year later after I left that company, how is he calling those people with their information, with the exact dollar amount that they pay for the policy and the exact company that they have that policy with? How is he getting that information if they've never filled out a lead form?
When you came into Family First Life, you walked into a fraud machine.
Yeah.
That is the answer.
I see it now. Yeah, it's very evident now.
So Patrick, we definitely want to hope good things. What I'd like you to do as well is register. Mention my company offers free websites, free quote engines to anyone who sells insurance. You have to know there's a few bullet points in this business. In fact, I've nailed it down to 4 bullet points. And if you follow these 4 bullet points, you have a fighting chance to have a long career. The number 1 bullet point is to be an expert at your product you're selling. You mentioned before you're selling IULs. It's a good idea to know everything about the company you're selling, everything about the competition. Be an expert at your product. Number 2, I should say, be really good at closing. It seems like you're somewhat of a natural. It's not something you could be an expert at. You could just be really good at it. The longer you're in this business, the better you get. Number 3 is be an expert on lead generation. Be an expert at getting in front of people, which is synonymous with lead generation. The fact that you are outsourcing your lead generation or getting in front of people to a third party called Family First Life is from the book of Very Bad Ideas. You outsource this to LeadCo, which is a reputable company, but it's still not a great idea. In order to have a long-lasting business, tackle that issue of lead generation, getting in front of people, become expert at it. Don't become very good at it, become an expert, and that's where you have a beautiful career. Number 4, do everything you can to come across and have the general public believe you're a professional person. If you master those 4 bullet points, you're good. Harken back to having the general public believe you're an expert. Websites are super high quality. We're practically giving them away. Sign up, get the website on your own domain name, do the proper steps to move up the search engine. We put advertisements on these websites to get rid of the ads. It's only $12 a month, severely underpriced. And that's just a small step which helps you come across as a top-level professional and having the general public believe you're a professional. That's all it is. You mentioned previous that you're working for some sort of multi-level marketing company. Now you have to realize anytime you're in any sort of multi-level marketing company, you are taking a risk. The less people that have your information, the better. If you are truly a specialist on an index universal life, there's no shortage of companies out there that have contracts for that product. And if you could work out a deal where you contact the company directly and say, hey, I am an expert. I make $100,000-$300,000 a year selling this type of product. Certainly they'll give you their best contract. And the maybe more important based on your experiences, there's going to be one less person that has your information. There may be a rogue clerk in the offices of XYZ insurance company, but that's a chance you'll always have to take. But right now you're dealing with a multi-level marketing company that has access to multiple companies. They're licensed to sell insurance. It's just a risk that you shouldn't be taking. Like, why do it? Especially dealing with people that have like large databases of gullible insurance agents where they're bringing you in. It's a weird situation that these companies specialize in bringing in gullible insurance agents. So even though you may be a sharp guy, you're grouped in with a bunch of people that aren't. And that's really where the risk is happening. So if you control your company to the best you can, you control your getting in front of people, which is becoming an expert on lead generation, you take laser focused on having the public believe that you're an expert, that's where you have a true profession. Since you are receiving money as an independent contractor, you have to be somewhat of an expert on the legal system of what happens when these companies decide to defraud you. And you know what you have to do. You have to go through the proper processes. It took me a while to figure out the proper process, but I do know now that it's not the FBI, it's not the CIA, it's the state attorney general, it's the Department of Insurance. If your letter is good and they appreciate the suffering that you've gone through, the state attorney general will give you a referral to sue and a list of attorneys. If you get that referral to sue in your hand, it's almost like you won the lottery. Any judge who knows that you got a referral to sue from the attorney general, they'll be saying to Family First Life, why are you even disputing this? Just give the guy the money. A gentleman in California did exactly that. His name is Kevin. It took him 14 days of writing a really good letter. Before you write the letter, you document everything as if it's the most important part of the whole procedure. because you're in one letter, you convince a 30-year-old assistant district attorney who knows nothing about this case why this is important for the citizens of Florida. And as a thank you, he'll write you a letter, say, you should sue. Here's a list of attorneys. The guy's going to glance at this letter for 20 minutes. So make it a killer letter with as much detail as humanly possible. The most persuasive thing to me would be a list of your clients that got churned, what they bought, what they got replaced to. The other issues that you mentioned may make it a little bit muddy, but if you make it clear, it's persuasive as well.
Right.
And what I'd like you to do as well is to send them a link to this playlist. This playlist is as persuasive as all could be, especially the interview with Brittany the fraudster, the interview with Jamel, who explains how he got bounty leads, how he systemically replaced policy. That's an interview I did last week. And I believe those are the two most persuasive interviews, but they're all persuasive. You know, one by one, they're all saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of witnesses in your part of Florida. This company has done really well in Florida. I've got a huge list of people that have told me personally that they got defrauded. Lately, I've been writing down their name on a piece of paper with where they live. I will get you 10, 20 witnesses that will show up at any trial that will mimic your story. It's just a question of how much money you'll get. It's not if you'll win or lose.
Right.
The fact that you're doing this interview with me that will go on YouTube indicates to a judge or a jury that you care about other people.
All right, let me stop you right there. None of this is about me. That's what it is, because you had said there's 40-something people that came forward, but I know for a fact that there's at least 10 other agents that have experienced the same exact thing that I brought into this, and it's about them, and none of them have said anything about it. So it's not about me. And for anyone who comes forward, it shouldn't just be about you. It should be about all of the people that were personally affected by this. Like I said, I brought 10 people into this that I know have experienced the same exact thing. How do you think I feel about that every night? Because I didn't know, you know, and now I have to live with that I put them in front of this person who's going to bully them like that.
It's not bully them, Patrick. They're going to get ripped off. Mm-hmm. They're either going to get ripped off immediately with phony leads, or they'll make a couple of sales and they'll get those replaced a year later or 3 months later. But everyone, I can't say everyone, virtually everyone who comes into this system of Family First Life gets defrauded.
Unless you're one of those few that breaks through to the top cabal and the top agents in that company. That's what happens. But even then, if they leave, I've seen some of the top agents, they leave, the same thing happens, they get defrauded.
Greg Birch, top agents, the top of the top, you saw his video. Yep. He recruited 150 people. They did not get a release. I guess they explained to him that this whole thing about come and go as you please, build a business, it was just a big joke. Mm-hmm. When he wanted to leave, they didn't give him the release, and that's why he filed the class action lawsuit. I don't believe this is going to stick around for another year. Your state representative and your part of Fort Myers could walk into the Attorney General's office tomorrow morning as soon as he gets your well-written letter. And does Family First Life have an office in Fort Myers?
Not that I know of. I do know they have one in Tampa because I used to live in that area in Sarasota. They have one up in Tampa.
They've got 14 offices and 15 or 17 offices. Let me Google it. Family First Life office. They're huge in Florida. They're just defrauding people like nothing in this state. Wow. Yeah. I don't think it's going to last. And the good thing for you is that they got bought by Integrity Marketing Group, which means whatever lawsuit or whatever judgment you get, you'll end up getting paid because Integrity Marketing ain't going bankrupt. You never know what's going to happen with one guy. 19 offices in the state of Florida. I see Brandon. What is Brandon? Brandon is Orlando. Where is Fort Walton, Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, Pompano, Tampa?
Well, who's the Tampa one? What's his name again?
They got a couple in. Where's Brandon?
Brandon's right around Tampa. That's okay. I think the one I used to go to. I was on one of those YouTube videos for FFL because I was a big producer, and they brought me on. They
like you because you have your unique look, which is what sells. You know, they always bring unique people on video.
Veteran, badass, veteran, yeah.
There's a black woman from Tampa. She tells me she opens up her Facebook and it shows that she made a $10,000 annuity sale. And she calls up the company and says, I never made a $10,000 annuity sale. but they wanted to post her picture in a cell, particularly because she was a black female.
Right.
So that is the story. Okay, so Patrick, you have a lot of work to do. You have to get that well-written letter. Don't write the letter in 5 or 10 minutes. You have to write it with the knowledge that it may be a $200,000, $300,000 letter,
right?
And you don't do something that's worth so much in a couple hours. Major research has to go into it. Major research. How many sales did you make for Family First Life?
I want to say in my first 10 months, I made over $200,000 in sales with FFL, if I remember correctly, roughly in that ballpark, between 150 and 250,000 in sales.
And how much in leads did you buy?
At least $3 or $4 grand a month for 12 months of their leads, and then I supplemented extra from other companies and stuff like that. But I was always using their instant internet leads and their mortgage leads from the CRM to supplement, because the newer expensive leads that I had, there's only so few of those. Like you were saying, you can't really come across a lot of good leads. So I would have those, and then just for numbers, I would supplement with, a couple grand a month in CRM leads. So at least $3 grand a month for 12 months. So
did they ever tell you at a certain time we were just joking around about these being exclusive leads, since it was obvious to you that they weren't exclusive leads?
No, not one single time. Every single time, I brought it up several times. Every single time I would bring up how low quality they are, I would be gaslit into just believing. I never did believe them, but they would try to gaslight me into saying, no, there must be something else. You might have just got a bad batch, or they might have just filled out multiple forms, or maybe there's something else. They were always covering up the fact that these are being resold several times over.
What was the name of the person telling you these lies?
It was my upline. Do you want me to give him? It was
So we'll call Spencer the fraudster.
Him directly to my face. Everyone else in the hierarchy, all the way up to the CEO, would be doing it in team meetings and stuff like that. So it's everyone. My Spencer the fraudster was just the one directly telling me in a one-on-one conversation.
The gentleman in California tells me, maybe the law is different in California, but once you get a referral from the attorney general, they're not allowed to countersuit, which seems weird, but that's what he tells me what the law is in California. Do
you think that I'm going to receive a lawsuit here after this?
No, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get anything. But what I'm going to tell you is, just like a cult, they're super aggressive.
I'll tell you this. Where it stems from is Shawn Meaike is a former addict. I have a background in psychology. He's a narcissist. He's a sociopathic narcissist, and that's the way their brains work. They try to take all the virtue, and they want all the reputation of a virtuous person, but actually they're doing the complete opposite of all the things they're saying. And then to further make themselves look good, they accuse everyone else of what they're doing themselves. Hey, we're not like those other companies. We don't make you sign a contract. You can leave whenever you want. He's purposely saying those things to cover himself up. He's a narcissist, and that's his biggest weakness, is he can't control himself pathologically lying. And that's where it stems down from the top. And all the people that are close to him are going to act the same because he normalizes that behavior.
You mentioned he's a former addict. Is that cocaine, heroin? What was
Cocaine and alcohol. He was a really bad addict. Self-admitted to he was addicted to drugs and alcohol. Once I've worked with addicts before, it does something to these people's brain, and they become extremely narcissistic, and they all have a very similar type of behavior. And what you see in Shawn Meaike, where he just has no empathy for anyone else, all he cares about is getting money. He doesn't care who he has to bully, who he has to walk over, who he has to trick and lie to get that. That's addiction. That's what it turns a lifelong addict into.
I have to tell you, his legal team is following his cue because they're getting paid.
I was going to say they're making
tons of money. On the legal proceedings against me, they're spending over. They claimed in legal documents they're willing and they will be spending over $1 million for nothing, like literally nothing. I'm like, what are you, out of your mind? In fact, when I agreed to take down everything I had online. And like the lawyer's like, oh, you really are? Like, you'll just forget about who this company is, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I'm like, do I really want to go through anything? I'm like, you want to rip off people? Like, just leave me out. Like I'm fine. You want to rape small children in Indonesia? It's like, I don't care. It's like I'm just human. So the lawyer brought this to him, and Shawn Meaike personally like the lawyer thought it was a good deal for Shawn to agree to my offer.
What was your offer?
My offer is I'll forget who you are. Like at the beginning when they sued me for defamation or threatened to sue me. I'm like, I'll take down everything. I'll forget who you are. We're all going to be friends. Like, just leave me alone. I really don't care that much. But the guy insisted on this lawsuit. His legal team must have been shocked that the guy says sue David. Like, of all the people, one of the reasons they're into suing me is because I'm outside the country.
Right.
I'm not in this business. I had an insurance license before. They think they have something on me. And they know I'm not going to countersuit. That's the main thing. I'm not going to countersuit.
Let me stop you. Back to the psychology of Shawn Meaike. His inability to let it go, that is also narcissistic sociopath type of behavior, the dark triad personality. Once you've crossed them, and how dare you lowly piece of crap, they have to feel better about themselves, they have to attack you back. They're very manipulative people.
So that's really why I said that. So you're talking the only reason that his lawyers are making all this cash on lawsuits is because he's a former addict.
Literally, he's a narcissist. That's what it is. And trust me, if you have any experience with anyone who has that personality disorder, it is that extreme. It sounds insane, but if you do any research into narcissism or sociopathism or even psychopathy, he could be on that level with his behavior, how extreme it is. It is that extreme. They will do all of that work over something that little. That's their ego. It's a disorder. It's a personality disorder. They are diagnosed with a personality disorder.
So in essence, because of this lawsuit, it caused me to put on YouTube 44 videos, which unequivocally prove that the guy should be in jail. And of course, an attorney general is going to get a hold of this, and he's going to end up in jail.
I support you fully, man, because I live my life to stand up against people like that, man.
The guy's going to end up in jail. There's no way you don't end up in jail if you're systemically replacing stuff and churning stuff on a grand scale as a business plan.
Right.
That is sick. And you got some major insurance company called Americo, which is participating. Americo happens to be a private company owned by one guy or one organization. It's the largest private insurance company in America. They're just not being responsible.
Well, that's what I said. That's why I just told you. Understanding what drives Shawn Meaike as a person will help you understand his weaknesses.
Multiple times I've said to the lawyers, I say, you really want to continue with this? I've uncovered your whole case. I know your company backwards and forwards. Like, and the lawyer said to me every time in a confident voice, no, we want to continue with the lawsuit. I'm like I was like wondering, what's going through now you explained it, that the guy has some severe mental problems.
Their brains are wired differently. So to put it as plainly as possible without getting into detail, their brains are not the same as a normal human being's, and this type of behavior, they cannot operate in any other way.
His lawyers are having a party on him.
He's their favorite client.
It's like, imagine making like they're billing at $1,200 an hour, like an insane amount of money. I see the papers. Let me show you these papers. Hold on a sec. They're suing my daughter because my daughter is related to me. Like, she knows nothing about this company. She doesn't even know the name of the company. So the judge ordered that they have to set. I accept email versions of every pleading. For whatever reason, she's allowed to get it in a mail copy, like a paper copy. So I get delivered to my door these proceedings, which is her. I'm not even looking at them because they're so it's such a ridiculous case.
Why are they suing? What could they possibly sue your daughter about?
Because I put on initially I did a LinkedIn with a bunch of I posted stuff on LinkedIn under her name because she's very pretty. Like, on LinkedIn they say click, but I'm saying it was me. I'm admitting it was me. And she doesn't even know the name of this company. And they're still suing her. So they're suing her because they're after me. But hold on, let me show you these papers.
All right.
I can't even lift it. You see this, Patrick?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What the?
So,
Patrick, you know what lawyers are charging for every printed paper?
What What's the rate?
It has to. When they post it on there, it's $1 million that they're willing to spend. I have to believe they may be underestimating.
So that's another thing that's so funny about that.
It's because I'm not countersuing. That's what it is. I got a judgment against me. I had some sort of court proceedings because I'm outside the United States. It's easy, just bad luck. So they realize I'm not going to countersuit. I don't have a financial interest in anything. So they're like, they want to make an example out of me. That's all it is. But you would countersuit. Like, you've got a claim. I don't have a claim.
Why would I countersue? I guess I'm,
No, I mean, if they do some phony lawsuit against you for, like, because you said something, you would countersuit.
And I have evidence to counter.
I mean, like, and they have no evidence on their behalf. You have evidence on yours. But, like, I happen to be in a place where I'm not going to countersuit. I'm outside the United States.
Where you at?
I'm in Israel, Jerusalem, Israel. So so you see these brick... this weird background. That's what it is.
I spent some time in the Middle East. I'm familiar with
the house I'm in is from 1880.
Wow.
So it's been around for a long time. That's how they used to build houses.
Well, I've got to be honest. I really appreciate you a lot because I'm still really uneducated on the law side of things.
But I know the laws. So you see all those papers, and I'm representing myself. You realize I probably figure out what the law is. I can walk you through anything, and when I say I could get you 10 witnesses, I'm not joking. I can get you easy 10 witnesses. The law is if someone has to appear in court if they're within 100 miles. And that's why I'm writing down where people are from.
Right.
Florida is where they have more victims than any place else. I'm telling you, everyone is a victim now. There's no one who's not a victim. No one who walks into that company. This whole thing about they're still saying that they have unlimited leads. Leads do not exist. And even this lead code that you bought leads from a year ago for $100, I wouldn't be surprised if these leads don't exist at $100.
Here's the thing. I agree with you to a certain extent. They're definitely better. I was making $50,000 a month off these leads, spending $2,000 a month on them, and I was making 50 G's. They're good leads, but I do agree. I mean, I still 10 of them out of 30 would be called already, shit like that.
Right. What you have to do is figure out what they're doing and do the same thing. That's all it is. Right. This way you have a legitimate long-term business. I mentioned the company called Need a Lead. They were charging $22 for a fixed price postcard lead for final expense. Now they're charging $45.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I believe it has to do with wholesale violations of the do not call laws, where anyone who's between 60 and 70 is getting 50 calls a day. They're not filling out anything.
Right.
These people are not filling out nada.
So here's what I'm doing, and you could pass this on because there's no competition really. I focus mainly now. I got away from regular life insurance. I focus mainly on IULs and annuities and retirement planning.
Right, well, like stuff where you make money, New York Life, Mass Mutual type. Of insurance.
I'm going to teachers' school districts, and I want to work with a school of 150 teachers that all have 401ks that need help instead of throwing all their retirement into a 401k.
Right, that's what it is. Become an expert at a product, control your leads, develop a reputation that you're an expert, and that's where you have a job.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't have a job.
Or otherwise, your job is very dangerous and is subject to people like Shawn Meaike replacing all of your business.
Or LeadCo, or
yeah, right.
And you should have consulted with someone before you agreed to all that crap.
Man, I figured out. I'm glad it happened because I figured out the hard way, and that's the best way I learned. I'm really upset at my upline now, John. He's a very high up guy. Seems to be a very trustworthy guy. He is a great guy, and he's a very trustworthy man. But he's the type of guy that Shawn Meaike can walk all because he's just passive and
Why is Shawn so much into this business when he's made so many millions of dollars already? He could just walk away and
they can't stop. He has to keep going. He's one of those psychopaths. They have to constantly conquer people. It's a disorder. I'm telling you, he fits the narcissistic personality disorder. Look into that. Everything you've experienced with him will make sense. He cannot stop. That's just how they're wired. He has to constantly be better. What it is it's a deep insecurity within himself. So subconscious. They hate themselves. So to compensate, they create this ego of I'm better than everyone, and how dare you do that to me? Now I have to crush you to prove that I'm better than you. He can't stop. He has a personality disorder to a T. It's insane. I've dealt one-on-one with people exactly like him. They're the most dangerous type of human being on the planet.
Wow, I guess maybe because I'm in a different country, I'm not physically afraid. But if I was in the United States, I would be like, what is... Do I really want to die?
Though. I'm a fucking special operator in the United States Marine Corps. I want to break this motherfucker's knees, but he's too smart to, like, I would be in jail if I did that.
Right, you don't want to do that. Nowadays, you don't do that. You just write a good letter to the Attorney General. It's the equivalent thereof.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying I'm thanking you for, because I know how to break knees, but I don't know how to do this shit.
Look at those 44 videos from top to bottom so you have a complete understanding of what's going on. You'll notice the recent videos, especially the last one from Jamel from Jacksonville, really puts everything to a T. You'll see the lawsuit of the do not call from Mark from Michigan. He's the equivalent to a lawyer. You notice he puts how he writes a lawsuit. He's a layman who is a justice of the peace, the equivalent of a judge. He's a judge. So he knows the law. So you notice you have to put examples. You have to list all your clients who got replaced. You have to do detail. You have to make almost like a legal document. There's a decent chance you're going to get a referral in 14 days. Since you have a pretty good case and there is a decent possibility that you're going to actually implement what I'm saying, since you're an intelligent person, when you're all said and done, you call me. I told you I have a huge list of people who got defrauded with 100 miles from you. Wouldn't it be nice if I gave you that list?
The problem with me, though, is that I'm hearing and thinking about this whole time, I don't have a lot of business that got replaced that I know it was.
You only need 1, 2, 3, 4. You got lead frauded. You got the emotional damages. You got threatened. It's just a agglomeration. You combine everything. I'm just saying this. The easiest thing for me to comprehend is the replacement. That's not negotiable. This is something that they could check. Then they could bring in the third party. Did you do this? If they admit or they don't admit, they could check it. The other stuff that you're mentioning, it's convoluted. They could still check, but it's just harder.
Is an attempt at replacement just as good as a full replacement? You know, for example, him calling my warm market client.
Right. If there's enough evidence that they're doing this on a systemic basis, what the investigators are supposed to do at the Department of Insurance, they're supposed to go to this guy's, the fraudster guy. They're going to ask him, did you do this? He's going to say yes or no. And all it takes is one. Then they investigate if they're doing it for everyone. They should be looking at all his sales. They should be looking at all the Americo sales of the entire Family First Life. The state of Florida should not be allowing Americo to be sold in their state if they're allowing this to happen.
You know what else he was doing? My upline? He was buying LeadCo leads, selling them for the same price to his downlines, my former downlines, and then going behind them and writing annuities behind their business. And replacing their business.
So write all this stuff. Telling me about this doesn't really help. Say it to your downlines that you were threatened, that you since you were a new agent that didn't know any better. You saw the Johnny Depp trial. What won him the trial initially when he admitted to being a bad guy or an alcoholic or who knows what at the beginning of the trial. So be completely forthright. And as a normal person who came into the business, it's somewhat common for you to be able to become a victim of this crap. Right. Like you gave up 15 agents to allow them to defraud 15 people?
14, I think, yeah.
Wow. So you gave up all this stuff for nothing. Well, whatever. It happens.
I lost everything. Those were all my friends, too. Those were my friends that I served overseas with that I hired because I was like, I'm making a lot of money, come join me. And I threw them into the pit and then got kicked out.
Are any of those still with Family First Life?
I think one of them is my best agent.
I mean, that's what it is. And they all leave. Like you didn't know it was a fraud operation. How would you know? They were completely controlling through their fake threats, like that there's nothing negative online.
Right.
So until last year, until 11 months ago, there was nothing negative online about Family First Life. Mm-hmm. Everything was positive. It was almost impossible for people to know that this was a fraud company.
Right.
So this interview that will be online will help a little bit. And I've spent the last year trying to figure out how to make quality YouTube videos. I bought this new microphone. I bought a new camera. So hopefully, but
there's one thing I disagree with you on, and it's this structure of this business is actually very good if it's implemented properly and you have proper leads. I've made a shit ton of money doing this. It changed my life completely. But when you throw in people like Shawn Meaike into the business, that's where it's just so vulnerable. I've been thinking about it lately. I'm like, I'm vulnerable.
Well, anything you do well in any business will work out well. The issue is, do you do it well?
Right.
then
that's the problem. Even if you do it well with these leads that they're marketing, it doesn't matter how good you are, unless you're breaking the law and replacing business, you can't make any money.
I'm pretty sure in 2022, they figured out that their number one lead source is replacing policies of new agents. Yep. Because leads are getting too expensive. The Filipinos and the Pakistanis are harassing the heck out of people. No one's picking up the phone. When a 65-year-old person is getting 50 phone calls a day, of course he's not answering his phone, but also when he's getting a postcard that's asking him what's your phone number and the best time to call, there's no way in heck he's sending that back. I've spoke to this company, Need a Lead, and they told me their return rates are plummeted.
Almost zero.
So you have to do what you're doing, which is the proper way. You build a business by building a reputation, and you're within a 10-mile radius of your house, becoming an expert at something, and that's how you make money in insurance. And it does not involve LeadCo. It doesn't involve anything. It involves you and you. I'd like you to sign up for that website because it will help you. I'll give you a heads up on our next. It is a lead system, which means you could offer these websites to business owners, but it's completely dependent if the quality of the website is good. So I could talk till I'm blue in my face that it's $12 a month to get rid of ads, but it's based on the quality. And you're going to see what is really good, and you'll appreciate it, and you'll realize this is a lead system. And that could be why the narcissist psychotic Shawn Meaike, maybe he envisions that and he thinks coming after me is going to help.
He does think that. I promise you, he does think that.
I was hoping he would give me the $1 million. I was like, don't spend the on legal fees. Just I wouldn't mind taking a vacation.
Yeah, right.
I'm 50. How old am I? 56 years old. Like $1 million, I could use it. That's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah. Hey, if you do get $1 million, I'll throw it into an annuity for you. We'll both be proud.
Okay, we're good. But Patrick, file that darn thing. Because of your look, you're going to see that last video I made from Jamel, and you realize I don't have to make any more videos. Have you seen the last video I uploaded yesterday or 2 days ago?
I just watched like two, the Equus one, and I watched the Birch one a little bit. And then I just commented right away, and you called, so I didn't even really...
Oh, I see. Okay, but you're going to see these latter videos. It's clear. I didn't really know the case so much when I had a feeling it was all crooked. Now I know.
For you, this is for you and your endeavors with Shawn Meaike. You need to do some research on the type of person you're dealing with, because it will give you a lot more ammunition to know how to handle things. People like him, you cannot deal with them like normal people. He will walk all over you.
Like, he's not gonna walk all over because I don't care.
Regardless, but it will help you deal with him because now you know. It helps.
I had a feeling he was psychotic, but
very similar. Yes, it's psychopathy, sociopathy, and narcissism are all in the same category. He is one of those three.
So his lawyers are laughing at him, without a doubt.
In his mind, he thinks he's the top big boss.
He's going to end up losing everything. He's in Connecticut. He has someone say he has a $5 million house there. He bought a $5 million house in Florida. Florida has homestead laws. Once you buy a house, they can't take it away from you.
Equus is saying the same thing about him. John Kite, the integrity partner, who's my upline, he's like, FFL is not going to be around much longer because of what they're doing. They know too. Trust me, they're in on it.
I've got a couple of videos about Equus Financial. If you YouTube the word Equus Financial, you'll see what shows up.
Right.
Certainly someone can call me and say, hey, we're really good people. We apologize, et cetera, et cetera. That's all it takes.
That was what caught my attention. I actually did Google or YouTube Equus Financial, and that was how I found your videos, because I always think I'm hiring agents, and I'm like, what are they going to see if they look up Equus?
You should not hire agents at all. If you're going to be in an Equus, any sort of MLM situation, you should not hire agents. It's just too risky. If you get a good contract from, let's say, F&G or XYZ insurance company, and you realize that these insurance companies and MLMs are using you, they're using you specifically to take on the risk of advanced commissions. Hiring agents is one of the worst deals you can make. It was not such a terrible idea for you to lose those 15 agents. In the end, the agents are getting ripped off. Then the agents realize they're getting advanced commissions. They're like, why don't I just sell my family members 20 policies? And that's really what happens. But since FFL has the system where they're ripping off the recruited agents on leads, then replacing, that's why it's worth it for them. But if you're not ripping off the agents, you end up getting ripped off yourself.
My personal, and this is just me, and maybe I'm naive, but my personal experience with Equus so far has been extremely positive. Their leads are better than FFL, but still same bullshit we've been talking about this whole time. But I have had an overall, none of the things I dealt with at FFL am I dealing with at Equus.
They're not criminals.
No.
Like, they got caught by the FTC, they stopped doing it, and they moved on.
Right. Everyone I know in the company, and this is higher level people, are very good people and have a track record of being a great person. They're not like Shawn, and they're not like FFL.
But Shawn's company he's making so much money.
It's ridiculous.
They claim in their legal filings that they don't own the lead companies. Like, they'll say it. Mm-hmm. We don't, in the legal filings, we don't own the lead companies. In the recruiter who I just spoke to, called Brittany the Fraudster, she says the same thing. We don't own the lead company. I ask her, how do you know they're good leads? She says, because we're the number one insurance company in America. Some bogus answer.
Because they buy LeadCo leads, and Andrew Taylor is the one who's buying them all.
Oh, they're buying LeadCo leads for cheap or for regular price, and they're reselling them over and over and over.
Andrew Taylor's the one buying them. I bought my leads from the lady who he buys all the leads from. That's their CRM leads. Andrew Taylor is the one buying.
And what is the lady you spoke to
Her name's Cheryl Davis. She's been with LeadCo for years. She's been in the insurance industry for years. She's a great lady. She works for LeadCo. She's on their sales team or whatever they do. She's old. She's 68 years old. She just does this part-time now. But she told me that FFL's CRM leads for the mortgage side of things, not the instant internets, they go through MailPro or something like that through that. Andrew Taylor goes and buys all of what's called recycled leads. LeadCo has a category of leads called recycled. It means one agent has had it as a brand new lead before. It's 30 days old, and you can buy that for $6 or $5 a piece as a recycled lead, one owner. Andrew Taylor goes and buys all of those, sells them through the CRM, through FFL, and he will sell each one of those leads up to 50 times. So one lead can be sold to 50 FFL agents, and those are what are called their exclusive mortgage leads. Andrew Taylor is number 2 guy. He's the one doing all this with the leads.
So he's the gentleman who does that. So when they're saying they're not the lead company, they're lying.
Well, they're not, because they don't own the leads. LeadCo does. Andrew Taylor, it's all wordplay.
But they're getting the profits from once they buy the data, they are the lead company, because the profits from the leads are going into their pocket.
Yeah, so they're answering a different question. They're saying we don't own the lead companies, which they don't, but they're not answering the true question, is you own the leads because you bought them, and they're lying about it.
That's the CRM mortgage protection from this woman that you told me. And how much do they sell those CRM supposedly exclusive mortgage protection leads?
Like $6 to $12 in that range, depending. They do a 1 month, a 2 month, and a 3 month, and they call them that. In all the meetings and all the trainings, they call them exclusive leads. But on paper, they call them 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. Those are all being sold through the CRM by Andrew Taylor, who has bought all them himself, and he's reselling them. And according to Cheryl, this is again all Cheryl's testimony, he will sell them. Each lead can be sold up to 50 times a piece.
It's in the contract with LeadCo that they could sell it up to 50 times?
It's in according to Andrew Taylor's, what he's telling her is, I sell them 50 times.
Just off the cuff, he's saying I sell it 50 times.
I don't know. I would assume they have some type of contract with purchases that big. I mean, these are hundreds of thousands of leads, tens of thousands of leads. So there has to be some type of written something, but regardless of the method of it, they will be sold up to 50 times, and they do not market it that way.
Are those same leads going to Equus?
No, actually, yes. Equus Financial is the only company that if I, as an Equus agent, Patrick, if I go and buy a recycled lead from LeadCo, no other agent in Equus can buy it, but other companies can buy it.
When it goes into the Family First Life system, 50 agents are getting it.
50 FFL agents are getting it. If I buy it, though, as an Equus agent, no other Equus agent can get it. That's in their contract.
I see. And they adhere to it because these are not psychotic people.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're decent leads.
But you realize you have to really control these leads yourself. Otherwise, it's like, what's the point?
Oh, I realized that a long time ago. It just takes a while to get there.
But spend a week or two. Well, you've done it. You concentrate on IULs with your technique of selling. And that's how you get to 50, 60 years old. You can say, what did you do for the last 20, 30 years?
Right.
I became an expert at this, and this is how I supported myself.
What I did is I found, out of all the products I can sell, I found the ones that help the most people and are the best, and I stuck with those, and I like those. And I won't sell anything that's not helpful. And I don't.
Okay, what else do we have? You did tell me good information about this. But you realize they're going to say this if you go to any sort of court proceedings. They're going to be using these lines. We don't own the lead company. The way court proceedings work is you get the name. You'll ask them, like in subpoena or discovery, do you own the lead company? They'll say the word no. Then you'll say, where do you buy the leads from? Lead co. They'll try to play games. Then you ask lead co. And this woman, and she's going to tell the truth, and what she's saying is believable. Mm-hmm. Then you got them on perjury. You lie one time at court, the judge laughs at you.
This kind of relates back to the extortion. Shawn Meaike feels like he owns lead co, which is what my upline said to me, which is why he wants it. He feels like he's, the head honcho in Leadco, and he owns them. So he doesn't want any other companies to have Leadco leads.
How is Leadco getting these leads?
They do hand mail. So they send out mortgage mailers. The clients fill them out, handwritten, mail them back. And those are Leadco leads. Someone gets a mortgage, $300,000. Leadco will send them a piece of paper that says, fill this out if you want someone to reach out to you regarding mortgage protection.
So what you should be doing, there's a very specific list of people who've gotten mortgages in the last week. That's from the county courthouse. If you go to my lead, there's a paragraph on that. It gives you a list company who'll get you that list on a weekly basis. He says every Thursday. Mm-hmm. You could get that list.
I just found that out.
It's on my lead page. You could Google the word mortgage protection. There's a gentleman in Texas. He told me specifically he only has lists from the big counties, but he gets them from the small. You would have to walk into the county courthouse for small counties. Every list company, every lead company has this list. I suppose since it's such a successful way to make money, they're probably getting 15 postcards as soon as they take out that mortgage. So you have to do something special, such as write it in hand, write a handwritten letter, or knock on their door or call them, because otherwise it's not going to happen.
Most clients that I talk to say, "Yeah, I got 25 of these little pieces."
Yeah, they're getting 50, and you realize that Leadco, which is based in, let's say, Dallas, Texas, if they put something in the mail from Dallas and you send it locally, yours is going to show up first. So your success is going to be umpteen times greater. And that's it. That's what I'm saying about becoming an expert on leads. I put out a page. It's almost an encyclopedia on lead generation. It comes down to this case of the way Google works. It's based on original content and time on site. So you have to have to get good time on site, you have to have real interesting content. So our lead page is the equivalent to an encyclopedia of leads. So anytime I get good information, I put it there. When someone told me about this mortgage protection stuff is so popular, I did a little bit of an investigation on mortgage protection. And that's why I discovered. But you cannot be buying Leadco.
I don't anymore.
You didn't lose anything by not buying Leadco. If you want those 3 counties or those 6 counties, it's not hard for you to get the list, make a postcard or a handwritten letter. You know what would happen if you get the list of those 6 counties? You write out a list, everyone's sending postcards and they don't work. So you write a handwritten letter with a picture, like your picture, or someone's like a real person. My name is XYZ. I'm a specialist in this. They're all afraid about getting this telemarketing from Philippines and Pakistan. Mm-hmm. So you put your picture there, you put your phone number, you put your cell phone. You tell them this is only going to me. Just by putting your picture, you could put the word U.S. Marine Corps or something, you blow them away. Your response rate goes through the roof. It's going to show up a day or two before theirs, or a couple of days before theirs. And you don't need Leadco. at all. On a nationwide basis, Shawn Meaike needs lead code because he's not going to do all this. But on a local basis, you could definitely do this yourself. You could do it much better.
Right. I agree. Much personalized is much better.
You put a picture, you take like a nice picture. You have I'm into this website stuff. It should be your first name, last name.com or everything professional. You just blow them away.
My concern is the response rate, like you had talked about earlier.
It's going to go down. But if you feel that these leads I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is because of this lawsuit that this guy is doing out of Michigan, where he's suing Family First Life, 9 insurance agents and the insurance companies, it may cause these companies to less harass people. But the response rate will continue going down until these companies end up in court, which they're now starting to get up in court. You may have you'll see my video about that do not call violation and the do not call lawsuit. It's going to continue staying low, but if you write a killer letter to these, let's say 100 people every week who just bought mortgages, because it's not that big. If you'll start in your home county where it's close to you. So you see what the competition is doing. You get their postcards. And you get that list. Let me just go there myself since you're into this.
Well, all the things you're saying, that's how LeadCo and integrity.
Right, that's all they're doing. There's a paragraph there that says, at the very top, there's a click that says the word leads. This is your Wikipedia on lead generation.
Wow.
I'm not joking around. It's a Wikipedia. That's why.
So like these live transfers and stuff, where do those come from?
We don't have, they don't exist. I tell people if you want to do live transfer leads, you hire a Filipino, you pay them $5 an hour. If they generate a lead every 2 hours, that's $10 live transfer leads. But I do get calls quite often about that. It's the new agents that have no idea what they're doing. They're about to get ripped off by Family First Life. They call me. Then I say, sign up. They come to my 6-day per week video conference call. I discuss that. But in any case, in the meantime, if you look where it says mortgage protection,
$10.
You could ignore that, but it does. I write a paragraph about that. It says prospects are contacted from a weekly updated list of new home and mortgage protection leads are our most popular vertical. The key to succeeding, as I mentioned to you, is being first. The first to mail, first to contact, first to call, first to meet. Partnering with our mortgage protection leads your success more likely. If you scroll up, there's a paragraph there about consumer and business data. That's what I'm talking about. That's the gentleman I spoke to from Dallas, Texas. It says lots of success with new mortgage holder data. That list can be obtained at the local courthouse, at lead or list companies. There's a hyperlink to one guy I spoke to from datamasters.org and is available every Thursday morning for most counties. It is important to be the first one. That's it. That's your information right there. Mm-hmm. If that's what you're into. At that same paragraph, it mentions salesdatapro.com that sells stuff for $49 a month. A huge database.
Can I ask you a question? And you can be honest. I don't care if there's anything wrong or anything, but what is your agenda in all this? What prompted you to do all this?
I was a licensed insurance agent before. That's why I'm not, very suable, because I'm not anymore. But I happen to know a lot about this business because of that. I'm in this different country. I speak English reasonably well. Ideally, when you're in any sort of technology program, you want to do good. Just similar to what Google did multiple years ago. Their logo was just do good or be good.
I mean, do you have any direct competition with FFL that could be trying to take them out?
We were offering contracting via referrals. Like, I'm not an agent, so it was going through a third party, someone else. Like, that person got sued also in the same lawsuit. We were offering contract 100% on National Life Group. Family First Life offers people 70%. We were offering people the highest contract out there. Like, I'm sure they didn't like this whole deal of these people offering more money.
Are you an IMO?
We're not an IMO, but the fact is we get people signing up all the time. When you get 15,000 insurance agents in a system, hypothetically you could go into any business. Like, I can't really say to you like, hey, let me give you the referrals for agents that want to sell, because then you'll end up getting sued by a Family First Life, and it's not. And there's not, and based on my experience, there's not enough money in this business. There's just no money in this business of recruiting new agents. You have to rip off new agents in order to make money. I thought this would be able to make a deal with Mr. Meaike, say, hey, we'll refer people to you. He came to my 6-day per week video conference call. He had a feeling I was too honest. Like, I wouldn't lead people to get ripped off. That was really the deal. They've sent people to my 6-day per week video contract for months, and like recording every call. Maybe for my expression on my face, my mode of speaking, they have a feeling Like, I don't care. I'm not going to rip people off. Because if you do a technology well, you don't have to rip people off. If you do the IUL well and you contact the people, or you have some sort of technique where you control, you don't have to rip people off because you have a skill set. I would like you to sign up for this website. If you don't have a website, if you have a website, it'll probably be better than what you have. As I mentioned to you, it will end up being a lead system because you could offer this website to business owners.
How so?
Once you realize how easy it is,
like any business owner.
It's set up initially for insurance agents based on the quote engines and based on the initial wording. But the key to search engine optimization is original content and time on site, which means that the website has to be easily to be edited, which it is. If you do your website well, like you walk up to any plumber, any electrician, and automatically he's going to say, how do I get a website? When I say do it well, I mean having a video of yourself at the top of the website, which you could easily do. You'll see how these websites are to edit and to add video to the top. So that's really what it is. You got 4 steps to do to succeed in this business. And it's probably a good idea to do all 4 steps, because if you don't, it's not good. And that was the mistake you made before by not doing all 4 steps. And I just told you about the mortgage protection. You don't have to do lead co. Like, that's a little bit nuts to pay $100 when you could do it yourself better.
Been saying it this entire time. My goal since week 3 of this business with all of my agents, I've been saying this the entire time. Like I said, it just takes time and I don't have a lot of resources. I'm not paying for leads anymore. This isn't a permanent.
No, you have to control the leads. But leads can work if you do it better. There's no way an outside, out-of-state company could do something better than a local person. It's not physically possible. When I get 15 postcards to my house because I just took out a mortgage, I'm going to make a decision. I'm always going to choose the one that's local. If one of these 15 people has a website such as patricksellsinsurance.com that has a big video of Patrick at the top that looks all professional and explains why he's better, I'll trust him more. I'm not going to trust LeadCo selling some generic postcard. You could do the generic postcard and see how that works. Also, you could send out 2 postcards. If there's enough money in it, why not? You could test. A/B testing is what professional companies do. But I'm telling you, I spoke to one guy on one of the calls. He said he made money from postcards. He started making money when he put his wife's picture on the postcard. The guy, he's all like happy that he's so rich now. It all came from that. So you don't need any of these people. Patrick, what I need you to do is fall through in this lawsuit stuff, because this guy is a psycho. If he enjoys going to court, he should be going to court because of referrals from various attorney generals. Remember, you're going to do stuff so well, there is a possibility that the attorney general says, hey, this does not have a statewide interest of multiple people, which is what they're supposed to be dealing in. But in any case, you're going to have to present that to an attorney. Do the best you can, just like in any sort of technical or intellectual capacity. You should be dealing with multiple people. Once you do it, you're supposed to consult with someone else. Did I do it right? That's what you're supposed to.
I'm not doing this myself. I'm illiterate when it comes to writing up professional letters, but
you have to describe what happened to you as a rough draft. I'm going to tell you what's going to be missing is an attorney called me with the client on the phone, with the agent that got messed up. I said, like, why are you even like worrying about this? Like, until your client calls all 50 of those people that got replaced, there's nothing to do. You call those 50 people and describe what happened to them, or whoever he called. Affidavit, your friend's name who got called. He got a phone call. Friend calls me. What should I do? That's proof in its own. How many did he replace so far?
I don't know, because all the clients that replaced that I think he replaced, it was him, because I don't know, because I don't see what they replaced. They all blocked my number. Based
on the evidence that you see online with Jamel from Jacksonville, that's enough for you to initiate a lawsuit. You see all those papers I have behind me? I see the structure of lawsuits. Lawsuits oftentimes are accusations that have no basis in reality. They make a motion to throw out. The judge makes a decision. Then you proceed through something called discovery or subpoena. And that's where you subpoena. You'll ask them, I want a list of all your Americo. I want a list of all my clients. What happened? All of your clients. You're going to ask for, you understand, anything that's relevant to prove or disprove the case. You're going to ask the guy Jamel, I'll give you his name, Jamel Bronson, I believe his name is. You're going to ask him for a list of all his Americo clients. He says on tape that he replaced 15 policies. You're going to ask him? For the list of the 15, you're going to ask him for his upline. You got so much evidence there. So you have to go through the 44 videos. Luckily, there's no shortage of people in Florida.
And there's no shortage of people who have been personally victimized by.
Do it the best you can. You're paying the lawyer to do all this intellectual stuff for you, but they don't know the case, and oftentimes they don't care about it.
What's the potential cost in earnings of a lawsuit like this?
You're suing them. They're not suing you.
So it wouldn't cost me anything, essentially.
If you could explain stuff to a judge, you could do this yourself. Since it's such a big case, because they're like ruining 6 months a year, 6 months a year of people's lives. Like you're talking triple damages, a year's income times it by 3. You're talking major. They're defrauding everyone, and the proof is so easy that write it down. But the first step is to put it on paper. How many Americos did you sell?
Oh, probably around 80 grand worth of Americo.
I mean, how many clients?
It had to be 100.
They have such a high percentage cancel rate.
50% is what I lost.
So you got 40 people. Look at the latest video, Jamel, the latest one I uploaded. You'll understand that they targeted specifically Americo. That's your basis of the loss. That's your most easily proven stuff. Of course, you're going to put the other stuff about the threats and giving up this, and this. That's going to be the stuff that's concrete, which is easy for anyone to figure out. When you came in, you look at the Britney, the fraudster recruiter lawsuit, but you're not allowed to tape stuff in the state of Florida, but you could have affidavits that it happened to you and it happened to other people that's exactly what you were promised as well. And by the way, this whole thing about you could come and go as you please. There's no contracts. You're free to come where you build your business and it's your business. That is contrary to you giving up this lead co stuff. They're going to realize that this was a lie. Having to sign something to leave was based on a lie. This threat was all based on a lie. It's hypothetically conceivable for you to get damages for that, giving up the lead co.
That's what I was asking is what's the potential?
That's up to a judge. They're going to make a decision. You're going to give your case. They're going to give their, for the most part, it's triple damages for the money you lost. That's as a general rule. Triple damages, which includes time and effort. Then you include emotional damages. It's hard to give money to emotional damages. How do you what's the definition? They give, if they like you. The fact is that I'll put this online and they're going to ask for the entire video and I'll just probably put a portion of it. You're going to come across as a person who cares about other people, and that's going to cause, just by being a good person, it causes most judges and most juries to want to give you gifts. There's a decent chance there's going to be multiple other lawsuits against this gentleman, Family First Life. So it's probably a good idea to get this in early. But it's integrity marketing. So integrity marketing is going to end up paying the bill.
Would they fire me?
No one's going to fire you because you bring money. Why in the right mind would anyone fire you when all you could do is sell Pacific Life or National Life Group tomorrow? It's these are probably better companies. If you look at the fine print, because I do know that companies generally go up to about 135% on their commission level, reputable companies that are good deals. And you mentioned you're getting 150 on the company you mentioned. It's probably means that the upline, the highest commission is probably 150 or 160, which is a little bit too high. Mm-hmm. So it's cutting into the benefits if you analyze it good enough. What was the name of the company?
Fidelity and Guarantee.
Fidelity and Guarantee.
With a Y, yeah, Guarantee.
Biul. I'm probably going to find out if I Google it. It's probably not. It's one of these.
It's a subsidiary company of Fidelity Investments.
Okay, Fidelity and Guarantee. It's owned by the policyholders. What's that word called that the major companies are? A nonprofit company. There's a type of insurance which is probably a little bit easier to sell. There's something called where the policy owners own the company. The profits go into dividends. The big companies like New York Life, Northwest, it's called a mutual insurance company. Mutual insurance companies are easier to sell big policies because the closing sales line is you own the company. The profits of the company go into the policy. So it tends to cause people to feel more comfortable.
Is that like Mutual of Omaha?
Mutual of Omaha is a mutual company as well. That's how they get the word mutual. The dividends or the profits go into the whole life policies. And generally what insurance agents make their big money on is these big whole life policies for retirement planning. But I'm pretty sure IULs don't take in the dividends.
IULs don't. but F&G's whole life policies, they do.
Maybe as a mutual, F and G mutual. So they're just better companies to sell. It caused people to have more confidence for bigger type of policies. It's founded in 1959.
Yeah, so Fidelity Investments is they're a subsidy of them. Fidelity Investments is one of the biggest investment companies in the country, in the world.
Once you have this skill set of closing these deals, and now that you know that you should be really, what I just told you about the mortgage leads, if you're into, you have no problem with job. You have made money over the last 6 months, right?
The last 6 months, not nearly as much as I used to be making with LeadCo leads, because I stopped buying leads because I don't trust them anymore.
Okay, so wake up tomorrow morning, call that number which you see on that paper, get the list of all you start in your county, and you like write a handwritten letter. You go to a professional photographer, you paste it on some sort of mail, you get the websites. Do you have a website?
I just started one like yesterday.
With what company?
My own agent.
So please sign up for the darn website, and you'll see ours is better.
Okay.
And I have that 6-day per week video conference call as well. But sign up for the website. I'll walk you through other stuff. This is generic information, which I tell everyone. Such a small percentage will follow through. When I heard all this stuff about all their agents making money, I thought it was like how are they doing it? And that's why they're using these people as fronters.
Hey, like I said, I made a shit ton of money right up front with that company, with their lead. But I'm telling you, I've seen it 10 times over with 10 or 15 different agents. It's almost as if the leads in your CRM at a certain time frame triggers, and it changes what leads.
The chance of getting good leads in 2022 are much less than they were previous. It's dramatically changed in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Dramatically. It's not really possible to get good leads now. I spoke to the company called Need a Lead. They jacked up their price from 22 to 45 on their fixed price lead. And I'm pretty sure it's based on these Pakistani call centers, right, just harassing people.
And COVID and paper and shipping and stuff. It's a lot of factors.
And they say the postage is going to go up. I spoke to the woman a couple of days ago. She said postage is going up. Mm-hmm. So
that was the first thing I noticed when I made the switch from FFL to Equus. FFL, everyone talks about how great leads are. The first thing I heard someone higher up talking about when I got to Equus was how hard leads are becoming to be quality.
Yeah,
stuff like that. They were honest.
Yeah, they were honest. FFL are dealing with village idiots. It's a YouTube video project to bring in new people. That's what it is. It's not a long-term. They're not even attempting to make it long-term. When you have a long-term business, you don't want to break the law. But you described that this guy's a sociopathic, narcissistic psychopath, and that really describes it, because the guy's doing it not to have a long. Who the heck spends $1 million on legal fees on me? You know, I told him, if you win, you lose. If you win, there's no money. There's nothing to win.
But to him, he won. That's what they need to win. He has to dominate you because he has to prove and show you that I'm not the one to mess with and that type of shit.
Came up with this whole deal he's completely ripped off tens of thousands of new insurance agents. He won in that. You won in the year up till 2021. Just enjoy yourself.
The worst part about all of that you just said is in his head, because of the disorder, he feels like he rates to be able to do that. Like he's good enough and he's as great of a human being that he gets to behave that way, and it's okay because he's Shawn Meaike. That's what his narrative in his head tells him.
So the guy's still working, he's still in contact with you. Is that because you were a top agent that he was talking to you? Or he talks to everyone?
He talked to me because of this situation, originally because I got in trouble. And my upline was in contact with him a lot. So I was already kind of close to him, relatively.
So he could use his high pressure skill set to rip you off.
Yes.
Because he does have a skill set of ripping off.
He's very good at knowing what he can do. Yes.
He came up with some business plan to rip you off, and your upline didn't believe he could pull it off. But let's get Shawn to do it. Maybe he could be convincing. To get someone to give up 15 agents like that when you were promised that it's your business to come and go as you please is a pretty good. That's a hard task to do.
Well, he faced me with the opposing option, which would be cancel all their contracts. They can leave. but now all of my brand new agents who just
Okay,
quit their-
you'll describe this to the Attorney General and the Department of Insurance. I haven't gone into detail with it. I would believe you because you sound authentic. You have to include this in your other stuff, and you'll probably win. Go through those 44 videos. The last one is Jamel that lost 15 agents. I talked about a guy in Michigan who he lost 12 agents. They rip off everyone. It's like crazy. You got work to do. This is a legal case. I had these people listening to my video conference calls for months.
That's how you know you're doing something right.
But that's what lawyers do. They spend months preparing stuff to build a case. These are huge cases. You could sue them for $1 million. You could win $1 million because you're messing with someone's business. It's complete premeditated systemic fraud. You triple damages on this type of stuff. Then you do emotional. Then you do punitive. You never know where this is going.
If I were to go to an attorney to get help with
Right, but he's going to tell you the same thing. The attorney is going to tell you the same thing. You shouldn't go to the attorney until you do this first step, because when you go to the attorney, after you've done all this stuff really well, I'm telling you, spend a couple of days or a week really preparing this stuff like super well.
Just the letters explaining what happened, basically? Is what
Yeah, I did. What do you think the attorney's going to go in? He's going to accept the case. That's the first thing he's going to say is like, what happened?
What would be the terminology for the letter that you're talking about?
Explanation to Attorney General of what happened.
Because I'm going to Google formats and just advice.
No, you don't. Just describe in your own words as professional as possible. The gentleman whose name is Kevin, who did this, who got the referral to sue, he's an intelligent guy, like a super intelligent guy, and his friends were attorneys, his personal friends. The personal friend said, first you write to the Attorney General, then you get the referral to sue. So if you go to an attorney now, he's going to say, he doesn't want to mess you with the Attorney General because he doesn't even want you to know about the Attorney General, because then you're going to get a list of like 20 attorneys to take the case. He doesn't want that to happen. But in any case, your attorney is going to ask you to like explain what happened. Wouldn't it be nice where he could just read it and he doesn't have to go back to you? Well, you got churned. Shouldn't you provide me a list of all your 40 people? That's obvious, right? You could get this stuff in discovery and on subpoena, but do as much as possible because they're going to have a motion to throw out the case. The better you write it from the get-go, the less likely they are to succeed in that motion. You have to put all these accusations. Like they're making up a bunch of accusations against me. The judge is confused. I'm not even doing a motion to throw out because I haven't figured out how to do that. In a normal circumstance, you would do a motion to throw out. So they're throwing a bunch of accusations that are ridiculous. It gets decided at trial. But at trial, you're going to get 10, 20 witnesses. You're going to have a whole list of people who are showing up in your town at court. And that's going to be about 1 year from now. You're going to be subpoenaing information. They're going to provide you that information, but it doesn't matter. There's nothing like those 10 or 20 witnesses all saying the same thing. So your accusations are going to be completely believable because there will be. That's the hardest thing to do, is to get 10 people to show up. I'm pretty sure I could get you 10 people. It's not hard to figure out who's a FFL agent. They're Americo agents. You get the list of all the Americo agents who are agents today. Their license expires in 2 years. You get a list of all the people in your county who are new agents, and you look at their licenses, like who they're appointed with. If it says Americo, they're an FFL agent, but they'll give it to you anyways. This is an easy fraud to solve, but you might as well get your $500,000.
I would love to.